Welcome back to the Words from the Nerds podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It is another glorious week of The Last of Us HBO show, and we have lots of great news. Firstly, that we are recording this the day before the new episode drops, episode 5, which is coming out early on Friday because the Super Bowl is airing on Sunday, which wouldn't have mattered to me because I would have watched this episode instead of the Super Bowl anyway. But I am joined by my lovely co-host, Aiden H. Talks, if you want to call him lovely, I guess. How you doing today, man?
If you wanna, you just called me lovely, bro. Where are we
Listen,
going with
I
this?
don't know what we're talking about here. Okay.
I'm doing wonderful, baby. Another great episode. This show is not letting up one bit, and I'm eating up every single second of it. Not my favorite, not my favorite of the past 3 we've gotten, but that's not saying anything bad because these last 3 have been near perfect. 10, 9, 10. And this one was very good as well. A lot to love in it. So even though it wasn't as good as the other ones, that does not mean it's bad at all. This episode is better than seasons of other shows, Kaleidoscope, especially ones that have come out this year.
Damn, that was a crazy say. I was like, hold on, what? Yeah, I can see that.
Let me just say I'm so disappointed with
In
Kaleidoscope.
Kaleidoscope,
I
yeah.
never got back with y'all on that, but I was kind of starting to there was times where I was watching it and I was like, okay, this is just not good.
Dude, the way they wanted you to watch it is just dumb, I think. Like, I did not like watching 6 months after before I watched the actual heist. Like, I was okay with the day after, but like 6 months or 3 months, whatever it was, nah, bro, I'm not about that. That's just
I started the whole entire thing on my TikTok. I never finished it, bro. And I don't plan on going back and finishing it. Just
it's okay. Everybody knows. Just didn't live up to its potential.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because Giancarlo Esposito, bro, some pretty nice actors, but damn, dude, some of that dialogue also just bad.
See,
dude.
I none of the dialogue stood out to me as horrible, but I mean, I just kind of spaced out as I watched. I don't know.
I felt like they kind of wanted you to take it serious, and then there was moments where they were just they didn't really care how you took it. There was I can't even remember line for line, but there was legit a scene where Giancarlo, his character walks in and they're fighting or something, and he's like, all right, guys, let's knock it off. Or it's just bro, you're planning a heist, something that can get all of y'all killed or put in jail forever. And he's like, all right, you guys, stop playing around over here. It was just, I don't know. I can't remember because I've been so checked out from that show. But anyways, all that to say that even this episode holds up against a lot of other TV shows, bad episodes, filler episodes, mid episodes. It does. It really does. Would you take the worst episode in She-Hulk and put it up against the worst episode we've gotten so far in The Last of Us? Yes or no? Okay, what are you taking? The Last of Us. Ms. Marvel. What are you taking? The Last of Us. Loki. What are you taking? The Last. I'm just trying to think of some TV shows I've watched recently. Anyway,
I bet Ben's not gonna like that Loki take, bro. I already know he's gonna be like, "Oh, I wouldn't take like this." Ben, just sit down, bro. Sit down and take your headphones out. You don't even need to be listening to this. Anyway. we are back again, obviously. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I know it sounds like I'm ending it, but I just want to seriously take a moment. Appreciate you guys. Our last episode went crazy views wise on YouTube. Aiden has the statistics for the audio listens as well. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it immensely. And this show is it's a very passionate thing for both of us. We're both huge fans of the game, and so to see all the love on the podcast so far has been fantastic. And so with that said, if you guys are loving what you're hearing, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. We appreciate it so much. If you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any other podcast listening app, drop us a rating, a really good rating,
please. That would push the podcast out a lot.
Yes, we would very much appreciate it. But
I will say that the episode 3 we did, our last episode, was the most, and when I say this, I have to explain myself a little bit. That was the most views we've ever organically gotten. I didn't put anything out about it. We didn't have a guest on to go like Wakanda Forever had like over 120 something views, but Mimish went and told all of his friends
Yeah,
about it, and all of his friends came and supported. Which fucking huge shout
yeah,
out, huge shout out. That was just so surreal to see because at that point we hadn't had anything go over like 90 or 70, at that point. So absolutely insane. But this episode, we hadn't had anything like that in over 6 months since our X-Men and Fantastic Four fan cast. That
that's kind
one
of crazy.
organically has gotten 90 views. Like, haven't pushed it out, and also on audio has gotten it, like still holds in like the top three most listens or downloads. So last episode broke that streak and is sitting at 71 views right now, which to other people might not sound like a lot, but I see that number just keep going up, and I'm just like, bang, let's go. So yes, bro, most organic views and audio downloads we've gotten in half a year. Crazy.
Yeah, seriously, thank you guys. Seriously. But jumping right in, my thoughts on the episode. It's Aiden touched on it a little bit. This is probably the weakest episode of the show so far. But with that being said, it's still not a bad episode. I've seen a couple people online, obviously, trying to say that it was a bad episode. I think what didn't work in this episode's favor is the fact that this episode and the next episode are one story, are one continuous story, and I feel like it almost would have worked better. And granted, this is me saying this without having seen episode 5 yet. As of right now, I would say that it would work. It would have worked better if both of those episodes were combined and it was one episode, and they just
Yeah.
made the entire season an 8-episode season, which I'd be fine with. That's what the boys do, and we love the boys. 8-episode seasons would totally be fine here. But this episode, it had a lot of great care. Obviously, again, this is a good episode. This is a really good episode. Just my least favorite. And why is it still good? Because the moments with Ellie and Joel are fucking
Uh,
amazing, man. They are
mhm.
so damn good. I can't tell you how many times, and guys, we're jumping full spoilers into the episode. So I know we didn't touch too much on our thoughts, just non-spoiler wise, but from this point on, I want to talk about spoilers. Aiden enjoyed the episode as well, just least favorite episode.
Yeah.
But the scene I can't tell you how many times I've watched the scene at the end and just
Mm.
gotten chills and borderline tears in my eyes. It's just so good. It is so good watching them laugh together. I'm losing it. You are losing it. Like, dude, that is so perfect, man. I love it. And that's what we wanted from this show going into it. Like to experience this all over again, and it feels like that's exactly what is happening. And it's in a different way as well, and I'll touch on that a little bit, because it seems like their characters and their personalities are almost sort of flip-flopped from the game,
Yeah.
um, in in terms of who's a lot more open and who's more closed off. And so I definitely appreciate that they're throwing a wrench in things, and I think it works really well for their characters. But overall, the structuring of this episode and the pacing of it all, and then how it ends, where we leave off, it didn't quite feel fulfilling. It was
Yeah.
setting something up, but I just didn't quite get the payoff that I wanted for it right now, which I will next episode, I believe. And so,
Oof.
and
It's
so,
gonna be a banger, bro.
and so I'm willing to forgive it, because it was kind of like the bridge to get us to where we need to go.
Yeah. I felt like it was way too short. And I feel that way. I mean, it's still 45 minutes. The reason I feel that way is because, and it's not even because I'm used to how long the last three were. I feel that way because I wanted more, which is a testament to the show, if nothing else. And so when it was over, I did kind of take it as okay, well, you get off of that Bill episode. Now you have to find out how to transition into how ruthless and war hungry these hunters are. Not war hungry, but like violence hungry these hunters are.
Yeah.
And this like new little militia they got going on. How do you bridge those two episodes together? Well, you start with the somber stuff from Bill and Frank's, the car ride, Ellie and Joel opening up a little bit more, everything they're going through, and you lead it into Henry and Sam. So
Yeah.
overall it's done really, really well, and I can appreciate what they're doing. And honestly, it makes it even better that we're getting an episode 5 days after that, because then it's like, oh man, well, I kind of wanted more. Well, I'm gonna get more 2 days early,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Sooner. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
all in all, it all falls together really, really well. I was just left wanting so much more. which isn't a
Yeah.
bad thing, you know.
Yeah. And I think what they've set up is really entertaining. Like I almost jumping ahead a little bit because with the teaser for next week's episode, I almost wish they didn't show the bloater. I mean, we know it's coming, but just like that the ground swelling in this episode, like you're left wondering what it is. Obviously, your mind jumps to bloater right away, but and then I was
Yeah.
also thinking, what if it's a shambler from like Last of Us Part 2? That's not a
Oh
spoiler, don't
shit.
worry, guys.
Yeah.
What if it was a shambler? Because like they kind of like pulsate like that and like that kind of thing. But again, that's a total like nitpicky thing. I'm super excited to see the bloater and that clip of him in the teaser. Oh my god, I just wonder if they're even gonna fight it, man, or if they're just gonna run. Like that's just got to
Yeah.
be so crazy. But
Yeah, dude.
overall, I mean, I'm okay with it. I just wish that maybe they had held off a little bit just to leave a little sense of mystery there. But this
Yeah.
episode it looks like that the teaser, it looks like there's going to be so much going on. Action wise, it's going to be like we thought this episode was going to have a ton of action because of, I believe, the teaser from last week. And to a degree, we were right. It definitely had more action than I think we've had so far, other than like the stuff with the infected.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't quite up to the level I think we thought it would be. I think they just had one fight um with the hunters in this episode by the truck, which was really great action scene. Oh, and then also the guy who tackled Joel and got on top of Joel and started choking him out, which
Yeah.
that was a great scene as well. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. I have a lot of notes over that sequence, and then when they're sitting in that abandoned little house, and Joel's kind of opening up a little bit, and they're talking, and he drops like some crazy lines, but we'll get to that when we get there.
Mhm.
No cold open again. Do you think we're done with them for the rest of the season?
If you had asked me after episode 2, I would have said no. But now that we've gone 2 weeks without them, I guess I'm struggling to think about what else they could cover with these cold opens. Maybe this coming episode with the I guess they're not named yet. So dancing around spoilers, I guess a little bit. The two characters that show up at the end,
Okay.
they might focus a little bit on what their life was like, especially with. Okay, that's spoilery as well. I'm not gonna mention.
Well, I had kind of name dropped them earlier, just
Oh,
kind of
did
like
you?
on accident, but
Oh, I
I
didn't
because I
even
said
notice.
leading into
Oh,
them two.
okay.
Um,
Well,
I
then
don't
I
know.
guess yeah. Just they. I mean, they mentioned their names in this episode, but we just don't know that those characters are those characters. But I mean, fans of the games do. Those two characters at the end that catch Joel and Ellie by surprise, Sam and Henry.
Mhm.
I think that if there was another cold open, it might focus on like their life before all this, especially with Sam being deaf. In this adaptation,
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to see, especially how he had to adapt in this world, especially where sound with clickers is such like a crucial part of this entire thing. Someone who can't hear at all, that's got to be like incredibly difficult to navigate. And
Mhm.
so overall, I would say no now at this point, but maybe they might shock us with another cold open. I mean, at the same time, we got to get something at some point. I imagine like the scene with Ellie's mom later in the show has to be. It can't be too long. I don't think it'll be an entire episode. That might be like a cold open.
Well, I really let me see how I can dance around this. I really feel like they did everything with Bill and Frank. They spent the whole show doing a flashback. We know we're going to get to see certain characters from the game that impacted Ellie a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also see Ashley Johnson, who plays Ellie's mom in the trailer, and we know that scene is coming up. We could easily do a flashback episode of Ellie, her being
Yeah.
conceived, not conceived, holy shit.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Take it from the top. Her being born, and Ashley Johnson playing her mom when she's, a baby, and then everything with another character. I would not be surprised if that is part of a bigger episode that like serves the same kind of purpose that Bill and Frank's was, because then for people, damn, for people that have played the game, a certain line at the end of the game that would hit home a lot harder, the same way that Bill and Frank's episode set that up. Yeah, I think that's fine to say.
Yeah,
The way the same intentions that Bill and Frank's episode had, Ellie flashback could have the same exact um, intentions and like mark on the story when it comes finale time, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and I think even to a certain degree, they touch on that aspect that you're mentioning in this episode. In the truck, Joel's talking about why he continues to keep going when Ellie is asking him, like, if you don't believe things can get better, like, why do you even keep trying to fight? And so Joel touches on that a little bit. Um, and again, like you mentioned, that'll be even further expanded upon later in the show without touching on too much of it. But
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely like the cold opens, but I don't hate it without them so far.
Yeah.
Um, especially with this one opening with Joel and Ellie at the gas station and just getting to see that the pun book come to life from the game was amazing. But
Yeah. I gotta say, bro, amazing. And we're probably gonna say this every single episode. Amazing, amazing set design, bro.
oh my
That
god,
gas station looked amazing, dude.
dude! And then as
So
they're
good.
driving, like I remember the shot of the bridge that the train is going that the train went over at some point, and then it was like
Yeah.
half of the train was falling off the bridge because it had split in half. Like that was insane to see.
Yeah.
They did such a fantastic job with the set design. It's truly incredible. Um,
Yeah.
but to jump to the truck scene, actually, no. First, I want to talk about the scene where they're camping for the night, and I think where this part comes in, the note. Sorry, excuse me. The note part from last episode sort of starts to creep through. Like we talked about last week, that Joel is so sort of bent out of shape over the note because he realizes that he has failed to protect two people so far, Tess and Sarah. And this letter is reminding him of Tess, which is doesn't really need to be reminded of it considering it just happened, but still reminding him of his failures. And I'm sure he thought about Sarah at the same time. So then at night in the woods, Ellie's asking like, um, well, people, there's nobody out here though, right? Like nobody's gonna find us. And then Joel like reassures her, like, yeah, we'll be fine. And then it looks like he goes to sleep, and then the camera cuts away and then cuts back, and he's standing up, looking around, holding the rifle. He's ready for anything. It's like, damn, he took that note to heart, and he's not messing around anymore.
Yeah.
And I love that dichotomy of it. Later in the episode, you show that like he's sort of become more comfortable in the setting with Ellie specifically, and he kind of like gets too loose about it, and
Hmm.
that's how Sam and Henry sneak up on them. So
Yeah. I absolutely loved that scene, man. Just seeing him staying up all night, standing
yeah,
there with the gun, while she's just sleeping. And I love how you just mentioned everything about the Bill and Frank episode because it's already having implications. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, me and you knew we've played the game before. Everyone
right,
that's played the game before knew the implications that that episode was going to have. It knew how impactful that episode was going to be. But the people that haven't played the game and didn't know what to expect, well, they're already seeing it. They're already seeing
yeah,
how Joel is taking that note and how everything with Bill and Frank is impacting Joel as a character and Joel's motives. And we get to see that immediately, not immediately, but like as soon as the episode starts, first 10, 20 minutes, we're already getting a little bit of that. And then we're seeing them open up to each other a little bit more. We're seeing um, them laughing at each other's jokes. It's all just starting to fall into place, just like we knew it would, you know?
yeah. Yeah, that's perfectly said. And jumping ahead a little bit, just to talk about the relationship a bit more. When they're actually in the truck, someone I saw actually didn't like this part of the episode, and I can understand it to a degree. And it's when Joel starts. talking about Tommy and a little bit of his past in the truck, and they didn't like it because last episode Joel was just saying, let's just keep our histories to ourselves. Don't talk
Hmm.
about Tess. We're not going to talk about any of this stuff. And yeah, that's that. I mean, initially I thought that was fair, but this is why I excuse it, because as Joel is sitting there talking with her, we realize also again from the letter, like he wants to take this protector role to heart. And we see later in the episode just how much he wants to take it to heart, later than this talking scene in the truck, how much he wants to take it to heart. He apologizes to Ellie because she had to shoot someone for him. And he doesn't think that her being a 14-year-old girl should have had to have done that. And he blames himself for that and he apologizes. So that means from that point, we learned that Joel wants to protect Ellie, not only physically, but emotionally and mentally as well. Sort of
Hmm.
wants to keep her innocence. And so with that in mind, you look back on this scene in the truck and Ellie's asking about Tommy. And now Joel wants to sort of put her mind at ease to protect her emotionally and mentally by letting her know the kind of person that Joel is taking her to. And
Yeah.
so initially, that conversation starts off with him talking about Tommy. Yes, he's literally only Tommy. That's not about Joel's history, which granted last episode he said we'll keep our histories to ourselves. So Joel's not talking about his history, he's talking about his brother's history right off the bat. He's saying Tommy joined the army, was part of the Desert Storm mission or Desert whatever. And so then it gradually progresses into both him and Tommy. And then it goes from him and Tommy to him, Tommy, and Tess. And then him, Tommy, and Tess to this big group of people. And he doesn't realize that he's slipping and telling more info than he wants to, but he realizes and cuts back on some of the info. He doesn't he catches himself before he says what him, Tommy, Tess, and the rest of the group they were a part of even got up to. So he
Yeah.
stops himself. And I think that's part of that little bit is like the early cracks of Joel opening up. I think this is the beginning of it. This is what we're seeing. And I know it's probably a bit of a stark change because in the game, Ellie is the person who opens up a lot more than Joel, especially at this point. Ellie wants to talk about everything. And this is something that person that I'm mentioning from TikTok also said as well. Ellie's the one in the game who wants to talk about everything. She's trying to cope with all the things that she's been through by talking and talking about it. But this time around, we see at the end of this episode, Joel directly asks her, like, hey, you said you had to shoot someone before. What was that about? She's like, I don't want to talk about it. That
Yeah.
is starkly different. And it's starkly different in the sense that that's the way Joel was in the game. And versus that now that's her and Joel is opening up more basically they're
Yeah.
swapped from their personas from the game. And I actually really like that because that's the point of an adaptation is to throw different things at the wall. I'm kidding. That sounds bad. Like they're just randomly throwing ideas, but to put forward a different sort of idea and a different perspective than the original source material. And I think they're doing it really well here.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it at all. I think it works better with characters like, or with actors like Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey to have them in those roles. I feel like Pedro Pascal is more of that type to just be like a rough, hard man, and then just kind of like starts easing in, and Ellie to be kind of more of a closed off, like, or Bella Ramsey to be more kind of a closed off, like, I don't want to talk about it. Let's just not go there. Um,
Yeah.
and I really like, I mean, there's a line from the game where they're finally starting to open up to each other, and Ellie's like asking him questions and like, oh, did you have like a wife or whatever? I can't remember verbatim. And he says, oh, well, like, or I think she says something about either what happened to Sarah or what happened to your wife. And he's like, too far, or don't push it.
Yeah. He
And
says like,
she's like, all
okay,
right.
okay,
Yeah.
whoa. Yeah.
And she's like, all right, sorry. And so it's good to see them kind of switch, working off of each other. I feel like it works perfectly for what they're trying to do in the show. Um, and I have no problem with it at all.
Yeah. I agree. And there's even little moments of it still continuously through the episode, like when they're climbing up the stairwell to go find a place to sleep. And she asks him how he knew that was like an ambush. And he said he's been on both sides. And he says that in the game as well at the same exact point, like when they're in Pittsburgh and when they're in Kansas City. And so I think because their main complaint, that person, was that Joel's development seems way too quick and it doesn't seem earned. And so I I can understand it to a degree, but again, I think it's explained rather well, like the way I talked about it. And it's kind of the same point that they were at in the game. I mean, Joel's still giving the smallest details possible, and he's not really touching on too many specifically dark things within his life. And especially talking back to the point where he says, we don't talk, you're not going to bring up Tess ever. Specifically, he says, you're not going to bring up Tess. He can bring up Tess, sure. But even then, I took that as more of like a don't talk about Tess's death and how we lost Tess. Like you
Mhm.
could talk about Tess in her past life and what she did before and what her and I got up to well before that. But I imagine the Tess subject and her death is a very touchy subject still at this point. And so Joel doesn't want to talk about that sort of thing. But
Yeah. I will say one moment when you're talking about the staircase, um, I like how she asks him, like, "Did you kill innocent people?" And he just
yeah,
kind of looks at her and then keeps going, already laying, already laying the
yeah.
foundation.
I
Like that
love
character development is so
yeah.
good.
I love that. And touching on the podcast that releases every week with Troy Baker and the creators of the show, as well as the game, they mentioned that when she asked that question, him looking at her is sort of the look of like, please don't make me answer that. Like, you know,
Yeah,
the answer to that question. Why are you asking it? Please don't make me answer. And I love that. I love that. And I didn't think of it like that. And that is perfect. I think that's absolutely amazing. And I think it's spot on for where Joel is in his life and how
exactly.
he wants to talk to this 14-year-old girl.
Yeah, and we'll touch more on that in the spoiler section where we talk about the game and everything afterwards because that was one of my favorite moments in the show. Seeing that little piece, it's just it's nice seeing these little moments and just in your head you're like, oh, I know what they're doing, or oh, they're laying the groundwork for this, or oh, they're foreshadowing this. Like whenever she had the gun, when we opened the show on her playing with the gun, I was like, oh, we might get the scene where she kills somebody and she says, "Oh, I feel sick,"
Yeah.
or where she says, "Oh, I shot the hell out of the guy, huh?" Which um I do want to touch on that a little bit also because that is very different from the game, um, and I kind of like how they're going about it,
Me too.
um,
I agree.
as far as like show wise. Um,
I
we
yeah.
get my scene, the one I've been waiting for. Unless you wanted to touch on something before
No,
then.
no, no, no. Go ahead.
Yeah, dude. It's just so good, dude. It was so good. Exactly how I imagined it. And
I
it
knew
was
as soon as
so
I was
fun.
and once it was on, I was like 10 minutes in, Aiden's gonna love this episode so much. the
Yeah, as soon as
the
she had the
magazines.
yeah, as soon as I saw her have the joke book, I was like, "Oh, the magazines are coming." And, seeing tweets of people that were kind of teasing that we'd see that scene. Um,
Yeah.
perfect. I
It was
loved
word
it.
for word, shot for shot.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was crazy. "Bye bye,
Couldn't have asked
dude."
for
I love
more.
that. I've always loved that part. I don't know why. "Bye bye, dude."
Dude,
Um,
yeah.
but
I'll get into that later.
going ahead a little bit, talking about that scene that you actually mentioned, I guess we'll talk about the build up to it first. We didn't get the "he ain't even hurt" line, which I don't.
I didn't care, but I was like, "Why is everyone, like, getting so salty
Yeah,
about
I don't
it?"
know. Like it's not that big of a deal. I think we made that line a big deal. Like it's not like
Yeah.
I don't. It's not a big development point for his character. Um, just the fact that he realized it was a jump anyway in the first place, or an ambush, excuse me, is what speaks to Joel's character more than just him saying he ain't even hurt. Like,
Yeah. It's and I also saw some people being like, "Wow, they didn't even use their most iconic line from the game." I was like,
dude, what?
"Is that I
Okay,
swear I saw that and I was like, "Bro." They were like,
there are way
"Oh,
more
they didn't
iconic
even
ones.
use" yeah, they didn't even use the most like their most iconic line from the game, and I was like, "Is that the most iconic line from the game? Is it?"
I think
Uh,
they just want it to be.
yeah,
Um,
I
but
didn't
they
care. I loved it either way.
exactly. They They crash into this convenience store place. And, this was, I've seen this be a point of contention as well this week, that it wasn't as gruesome as the game was.
Mhm.
People seem to have really wanted Joel to shove that guy's neck down on the
Yeah.
glass. And I can understand that. Like, it's a very iconic part of the game. But it just goes back to what the creators have talked about this in the build up to the show. Like, this isn't going to be as violent as the game. It doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
It's not one of these overly gory like horror movies or horror TV shows. And so the violence is nothing but gratuitous at a certain point. And so I feel like what they did well was kind of actually hold back on it a little bit, because there's parts of it where it's not exactly violence that makes you sort of horrified in a way. And that comes, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a scene that comes up right after this. But um, it's almost more realistic in a sense too, because like Joel's a 50-year-old man. You want him to fight off all these young spry dudes and like who's trying to shove his head down on a piece of glass. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
let's think about it realistically. And so I actually love they're even giving him more of that protector role. Like
Mhm.
he's like, Ellie, go get in that hole in the wall and wait there until I tell you to come out. And he just goes to work. He just starts going ham on all the.
Did we lose Charlie? Oh, there he is.
Oh, what? I looked fine. That's interesting.
Really? Was I
Yeah.
frozen?
No, you weren't frozen for me either. That's weird. I thought I was
What?
fine. That's
No, you
crazy.
were like went like this, and it was like and I was like, and then it
Okay.
shut out.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's not so fun being on the other side of it, is
Hey,
it?
yeah. First time for everything. What can I say? Um,
Anyways, you were saying?
but they almost gave him a little bit more of the protector role here. He just
Yeah.
straight up told Ellie, like, go climb in the wall and wait until I'm done. Wait until I call you out. And so then he goes to work on these guys. And granted, it's not like the most flashy gunfight you've ever seen, but I feel like it's more realistic for this world. Like, you're scared to get hit. You're like, you've survived this long,
Yeah.
20 years in the apocalypse. Like, you don't want to get shot by some stray bullet. And
Yeah.
so that's why I love, like, also when Joel hits that one guy, um, shoots him and knocks him down, and then his partner runs over just out of cover, and Joel's like doesn't even think to peek out again. Like, Joel's just like, I got to get back and get to a different vantage
Yeah,
point.
I was like, dude, get out and shoot him. He's wide open, bro. Well, and another thing, and then I'll let you continue. In the game, and this doesn't really go to like the cutscene of him slamming his head on the glass and like obliterating that dude's face,
Yeah.
for like jumping on Ellie. Um, but it's like they're gonna have to change some combat up either way. In the game, you get shot twice, your health bar is at 50%, 75%. In real life, you get shot twice, pretty much done for,
Yeah.
or you're like down for a while. So it's like they're gonna have to change some stuff up regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah.
Um, but what I loved so much about this was the okay. Well, actually, this is I'll say my one complaint about it first. I do think it happened a little quickly, a little quickly, because it's, and I'm talking about, of course, the scene where Ellie has to save Joel. And as soon as it started to happen, I realized that it was happening, and I don't know if I enjoyed how fast it happened. But at the same time, it's like it's just my personal opinion on it, because it's a moment that still happens in Pittsburgh regardless, just like halfway through Pittsburgh, I think, in the game. But at this point, they're just having it done and over with right at the beginning. But what I loved about it so much is that Ellie doesn't just kill the guy right away. It almost makes it so much worse and I talked about this with someone else today on TikTok in a comment section, and they didn't like it at all. They liked the game a lot more. And they even went so much as to say that this was tame in comparison. And I was like, how do you look at Ellie shooting a man in the back, paralyzing him, and then the guy continues to not only beg for his life, but beg for his mom?
Oh
That
yeah.
was horrible to hear. Imagine a 14-year-old girl, instead of just shooting someone right in the head and then having it be done with. Granted, yes, that's still a horrifying thing. And in the game, she says, like, oh, I feel sick. Imagine now, she didn't kill the guy, paralyzed him, and he's laying there, can't move, begging for it, pleading for his life. That is a horrifying thing to think that you did as a 14-year-old kid. Granted, she says she's done it before, and they're going to touch on that later in the show. We'll see just how bad they had to do it. I think I have an idea of what she had to do, and we'll talk about that in the spoiler section. But just to think that even if it was the second time, that's a horrible second time. Oh my God, dude. Granted, most of it is just that guy knows he screwed up and he's trying to like get out of the situation however he can. But still, that's like, you have to sit there and think, like, I just did that. I made this person like this, the way that he is right now. And I've hardly ever done this before. That has to take away so much innocence from your character. And I love it so much because it feels like they're really playing into, and I've talked about this before, they're playing into The Last of Us Part 2 Ellie a lot. And I don't want to touch on that too much because that's spoilery, but this is all playing into Last of Us Part 2 Ellie so well. They're building her with Last of Us Part 2 in mind. And that makes me super excited because part 2 or season 2, excuse me, is already greenlit. And so I can't wait to see how they continue to build her. It's just, that's why I loved it so much. My only complaint was that I think it happened a little bit too quickly. But again, that's give or take.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely loved the way they did it in here. It was, like you said, it was very hard to watch that dude just sit there and beg for his life. Because then I'm putting myself in Ellie's shoes, I'm putting myself in Joel's shoes. I'm like, man, after that, would I really be able to sit there and like finish him off? Like I'm gonna sit there and be like, damn, did I do the wrong thing? Like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
contemplate back and forth, and it's gonna mess with me big time. And you can see it mess with her, and it's not it's not like in the game where she immediately says, "Man, I shot the hell out of that guy, huh?"
Yeah.
And then kind of goes like you can tell she is bothered after that, but it's for different reasons. It's because Joel wasn't like, "Good job." Joel wasn't saying it was either him or me, and she says that. She's like, "Oh, how about it was either him or me? Thanks, for
Yeah.
not letting it be me, whatever." And so that's why she's upset. She's not upset because she killed someone. But like we said, we're thinking about it in a realistic standpoint. This isn't a video game where you can get shot 3 times, 4 times, and still be alive to kill the bad guy. This is real life. We're making it realistic. We are doing a live action adaptation of the game. We're gonna put this stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it so much, seeing stuff like that and seeing her react a completely different way. And as for like it happening too quick, I feel like it was if you wanna get away from the gore and the brutalness of it, and you don't want to have Joel slam a dude's neck on a piece of glass and then bang another dude's head on a counter, the best way to do it is to kind of like, "All right, well, then let's just pick this piece up, put it a little bit earlier, have that since we're already building on their development." At the end of the show, we know that they're gonna be kind of starting to get a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Why don't we just move that part a little bit ahead? I didn't really mind it. I kind of expected that it would come this episode since they set it up last week with her taking Frank's gun. So I was kind of expecting it, and I was like, if not this week, for sure next week, because which I mean now knowing today, but before I didn't think we'd be in Kansas City that long. I thought maybe 2 episodes at most, maybe even just 1 episode, depending on how long it is, which now we know that next or tomorrow's episode tomorrow, baby.
Mm.
Now we know tomorrow's episode concludes the Kansas City arc, the Pittsburgh arc from the game, and, we move on. So, I didn't mind it, It's I don't wanna say, like, important, but it is, like, a really it is a scene that you kind of need in here,
Yeah.
especially everything with Joel and Ellie and their connection from the game being put on live action. I feel like you kind of had to have this scene, and if not now, that it would have been too late to do it when you get to winter or spring, wherever they get to, when they get to everything in the next couple episodes. Anyways, you kind of need that scene for their development. It's crucial for their development, however you want to look at it. And then her getting the gun. I knew it had to be this episode or next episode. And it was just a matter of what they did in this one. So
Yeah.
I didn't mind it, but I can see how people would think like, yeah, that is a little too quick, or like I wasn't expecting it. Um, so yeah, I can kind of see your argument there.
Yeah. Another thing I actually liked about that scene specifically is the fact that Joel isn't mad at her like he is in the game. It feels a lot more natural to me that way, just because, and especially in the place that he's in now, with realizing again, talking about the note, realizing that he needs to protect this person and doesn't need to give her the cold shoulder. That's why talking about last week and a lot of people's problems with that episode were the fact that Bill didn't get to show that he was what Joel didn't want to become. Bill was like this absolute recluse, and that's when Joel realized, like, hey, I don't want to like be this down in the dumps like Bill is. And I understand that, and I understand how people could have taken that away from that in the game. But at the same time, the very next big emotional beat for Joel and Ellie is that point when Ellie saves Joel with a gun, and then he gets
Yeah,
upset with her and gets pissed off at her. That doesn't make sense to me. If he learned from Bill, he doesn't want to be like Bill. Why does he continue to be like Bill? You know, like that doesn't make sense to me. So now he's sitting here, he's like, the whole not the whole last episode, but anytime you mention Bill, he's like, Bill's an asshole, but Frank's nice. And so Joel's sitting here and he's realizing, like, hey, maybe I can be nice to this girl, especially for saving my life, because that teenage kid would have choked me out with his
yeah,
shotgun if she wasn't there to save me. And so it just feels a lot more natural to me and progressive for their character arcs, and I really appreciated it.
yeah. I'm right there with you.
But jumping ahead, Melanie Linsky as Kathleen. I saw somebody. I didn't want to correct them. Just it's just so funny. It's like inside thing. I saw somebody tweet. I forgot this Kathleen character was such a Karen in the game. I was like, she's not in the game, dog. But that's all right though. That's
Mm.
fun.
Oh no.
I didn't reply. I didn't want to be like that. Well, actually, she's not in the. I didn't want to be like that. I was like,
Oh,
all
that's
right, man.
rough. Oh, that's rough, bro.
Hey, but whatever, it's fine. Regardless, we move.
Did someone
I,
reply to them or anything?
I don't know. I never went back and looked. I might have to do that. I
Oh,
was
that's
like, all
funny,
right,
dude.
dog. But her character overall, I think she. Let me preface by saying I think she's gonna have a lot more to do in episode 5, and I think I'm
Yeah.
gonna appreciate her a lot more in episode 5. This one, I think Melanie Linsky does a good job. One of my favorite parts is when she's like, let me see if I can find it. Oh yeah, okay. The guy she's interrogating in this container. He's like, they had a gun to my head, and then she pulls out a gun, and then when she's like, "Have I satisfied the necessary conditions for you to talk?" I was like, "Oh damn,
I was like,
bro,
yeah,
that's
that's kind of
that's
tough.
hard." I was like, "Dude, I like that." Okay, but that was the peak of her character for me in this episode. I get that, like she went out. I also thought it was kind of cool when she went out and like just ordered everybody around, like, "Hey, this is the work of Sam and Henry, and we got to find everybody throughout the city." I was like, okay, it's kind of cool too. Other than that, like that was she didn't really do too much for me. Not that she's a bad actress. She just didn't do too much for me. I don't think.
Yeah. I didn't really like it. I didn't really like it. And
Oh, we got a hater, bro. That's crazy.
I I don't know if maybe it's just because, like you said, she didn't have anything to do, which she's obviously gonna have more to do next episode. I did think she dropped an absolute bar with that interrogation scene, and then just coming back and just being like, "Bop, all right, he's done for,"
Yeah,
and
bro, just
leaving.
walk back.
Like,
Oh my god,
yeah,
that's
like
crazy.
she was on some demon timing, and like it was really cool to see. I don't know. I just something wasn't really clicking. I guess maybe it's just like the character she's playing. But I don't know. I was just kind of like, okay, like we'll see where this goes. And like I told you over text, and like I said in the video I posted today, this isn't really my favorite arc in the game. It's kind of something that's really like forgettable to me.
Yeah,
Besides obviously what's gonna happen next episode. And so I was just kind of like when we got here, I was like, "Ah, okay." let's just speed it up. You know, next
Yeah.
episode, let's get it popping. Which I mean, next episode looks very cool. And like I said, they might change my mind with the show, or I might end up falling in love with the arc in the show. But in the game, I never really liked this moment. I don't know what season it is, or
I think
is it
I was gonna say
because
summer because I think right after this they go into fall,
fall and then it's
then
winter.
winter. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Or ooh, I don't know.
I'm
Forget
not
what I
sure.
said.
Anyways,
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't really, not to say I didn't like it. I just, it's not my favorite arc in the game. You know, it's like comparing
Yeah.
this episode to the other three. All right, we'll compare this one to the beginning, and then the next ones that are the next arcs that are coming up. Um, Besides obviously the stuff coming. So I don't know. I was just kind of like, okay, like it was really cool. I loved seeing Perry, the character of Perry, voiced by
Mm.
the voice actor for Tommy in the game. Man
Yeah,
was an
I forget
absolute stud, bro.
I forget his name. Jeffrey Pierce, that's his
I
name.
forget
That's his name.
Jeffrey Pierce. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, that
Absolute
was
stud.
dude, he had the Tommy voice going
I
the
was like,
entire time, bro.
I was like, dude, change it up because now like all I can hear is Tommy,
That's just Tommy, my boy. Like, I mean,
dude.
I loved it, but
Oh yeah,
it was just Tommy. But in terms of his character, kind of falls so far in the same lines for me as Melanie Linsky's character. Nothing
yeah,
really going on, nothing really for him to do. I hope. I'm more sure about Melanie Linsky's character having more to do next episode than I am for his character. I
yeah.
I I think he will have more as well, but I'm positive that Kathleen's gonna have more time. But Perry, I just feel like maybe,
I don't
hopefully. I hope
I
so.
don't feel like any of the actors coming from the game, Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, I forget the other names, but the lady that plays Marlene and obviously
Merle
Pierce.
Andrews, yeah.
Yeah, I really don't see them being in any like huge roles. And I say
Yeah.
huge, I know everyone thinks, oh, one of those characters, blah, blah, blah. But like just being and like having a ton of screen time, a ton of like character development, especially Troy Baker. I really don't
Yeah,
see
me
that
too.
being anything too crazy. I
I
think they're
agree.
just like, hey, so I'm fine with him kind of just sitting back, looking like a hunk of a man, just chilling there, you know. But
Dude, he does
um,
look like a unit, bro, with all that tactical
bro,
gear
the
on.
way he was just sitting there with his hands on his,
Yeah,
I was
no,
like,
dude.
okay,
Oh
like,
my
bro,
god. What a
yeah.
unit. That is crazy.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see where I fall on the character of Kathleen after
Yeah.
tomorrow's episode. I mean, like I said, I'm not like bashing her. I'm not bashing the actress. A lot of people on Twitter are bashing the actress. A
Really?
lot.
I
Yeah,
haven't
it's
actually
bad.
seen that.
If you just look up Kathleen Last of Us, yeah, it's pretty rough.
Damn, that's crazy.
And I mean, it's not okay. Let me take that back because it's not terrible. It's not terrible, terrible. But a lot of people are just like, who is it? Who is this lady and why can't she act? All
Oh
right.
my god, bro. That's crazy. I actually hate that when people say that, bro. I know
Yeah.
damn well anybody saying that has like they walk into a theater, they get on stage, they gonna shit their pants, bro. Shut your ass up. I
Yeah.
hate that.
Yeah, but people have been saying, you know, I'm not gonna crap on the actor or anything. But people were saying that like this is not normally what she's casted as, so this is a bit out of her
I think she's more
comfort
of a
zone.
comedy actor, I think.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure.
But I didn't have a
Um,
problem with her acting. I didn't have a problem with her acting. I guess I more kind of just had a problem with the character and the way they were kind of introducing and showing us the character and our introduction to her. I don't know, but like I said, we have a whole hour, basically 50 minutes tomorrow um, to kind of see what happens with that. So
yeah. Um, moving on a little bit, we jump to Joel and Ellie in the sort of abandoned little building, and they stop and have that moment of levity, and I really appreciate it. It again, it harks on what I already talked about, how he's not angry with her like he was in the game for saving his life, and you see like how he's attempting to be more heartwarming, more helpful, and they both acknowledge he's not good at it. And so this harps on also how I mentioned earlier. This is the moment I was talking about where he apologizes for her having to help him in that situation, that she shouldn't have had to do something like that because she's a kid. And I thought all of this was really, really good. And this is where she also reveals that wasn't the first time I had to do that. And I believe she also says she doesn't want to talk about it, or because
Yeah.
he asked her right then and there if she wants to talk about it, and she says no.
Yeah. Yeah, I like how it's a more somber version of what happened in the game. Because like we said, in the game, she's basically wanting to hear him say like thank you for saving my life, essentially, and he won't. And then of course in Joel fashion, he basically says thank you by saying, "You're right. It was either him or me." And she looks at him and he walks away and she says, "You're welcome." Like she knows.
Yeah,
And then he ends up giving her a gun. This is a more somber version of that, which I can appreciate because, again, we are in live action. We are making a show. We're not copy and pasting what happened in a game to here. You got to change a few things. And this was one thing that I really liked that they changed a bit. And I love the line of Joel, like you said. He said, "I mean, it's my fault and you shouldn't have had to. And I'm sorry." It's like,
yeah,
damn, he said he's sorry. So,
yeah. That was No, actually, that's a
yeah.
really good point.
And a
Um,
really good change, you know.
but then he ends up giving her the gun, shows her how to properly hold the gun because the federal school taught her wrong. Um, this is just this is perfect, just slowly starting to see like them wanting to help each other. They're even messing around a little bit. He tries to like yank the gun out of her hand, and she
Yeah.
laughs a little bit. I also love the part where she tries to put it like in her back pocket, and she's like, "Absolutely not," or something. And he's like, "You'll shoot your ass off," some dumb shit like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what he said. And then we get and you had mentioned this earlier, even just seeing the hole in the floor would have been fine because in that moment I was like, "Oh my god, this is the scene that me and Charlie were breaking this down last week, and this looks just like the hole the bloater was coming out of. This has to be a bloater." And
Yeah,
the character of Perry looked horrified. Kathleen looked horrified,
yeah,
and I cannot wait to see all hell break loose next. All hell break loose tomorrow.
yeah. Exactly. It's interesting to think actually why they were horrified. That makes me wonder because so is that sort of how bloaters are always formed? Like they're just underground and like because they say that the fungus like reaches underground for like miles potentially, and so I wonder if bloaters are only underground kind of thing because they immediately know with the ground pulsating like that, they know what it is and they know to be horrified. And so it's interesting. I wonder if they're going to expand on that a little bit more because that's not anything that's part of the game storyline.
Yeah.
There's nothing like they have to be in dark spaces or anything like that. And so I wonder how they just instantly know what it is. It seems like they know anyway. Or maybe I could just be misinterpreting it and they know that they should be scared of whatever that thing is because they've never seen the ground pulsate before. But
Yeah.
to me it definitely seems like they know what it is, and I'm
Yeah.
wondering how they have experience in that.
Yeah. It felt like they had kind of been down this road before. Um, and I can only imagine like you have a settlement. You basically own this downtown Kansas City area,
Mhm.
and you've been around these things for quite a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if there are other locations with bloaters in buildings like that they've had to exterminate before, and they're just
Yeah.
kind of like, all right, let's leave this one, just let it be, and let's just back away. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I kind of took it the same way as um, they've been down this road before.
Yeah. And she opts not to tell everybody else, which we can all assume that that's going to have absolutely dire consequences, and potentially everybody's going to turn on her at the end. I could foresee if they find out that she chose not to tell them. But moving on from that point, I love this little part when they climb into the building where they have to climb all the staircases. It's like a little nod to the puzzles in the game. Joel lifts Ellie up through a window and she has to go unlock the door for him. Perfect little homage to all of that. It's just a
Mhm.
small little thing
Lifting her up into the
into the window and she
is
has to
great.
go. Yeah. Um, but then we get the scene we talked about earlier with her with her asking like how he knew he was gonna that guy wasn't hurt, excuse me. And then she asks him if he has killed innocent people, but we've already touched on all that.
Mhm.
Um, Jumping ahead towards the end of the episode, I love the. I don't know why I love it. Like I really shouldn't love it that much, but just when he's laying all the glass down, and she's like, "Joel, Joel." I don't know why, like, because I immediately knew why he was doing it.
Yeah.
For sound reasons, but I don't know. That just it it seemed like what a grumpy old man thing to do. Just keep it. I mean, maybe he couldn't hear her also because they touch on the fact, like in this episode, that he can't hear as well out of his right ear. I think she said or she noticed or
Yeah.
something. So maybe he just genuinely couldn't hear her. But I just interpreted it as him ignoring her. He's like, "What the hell do you want?"
I just love the way Pedro delivers most of these lines.
Yeah,
Um, as like a grumpy old man, it's just so
yeah.
good. Especially Ellie being
Seriously.
like this giddy teenager. Them just feeding off each other. It's so funny. It's like
um,
especially the line at the end where he's like, "That is so goddamn stupid."
yeah, dude, it's so good, man. I love this last part made the episode. I no, I was gonna say it made the episode for me. I already enjoyed pieces of this episode a lot, but this last part is just like it really hammered home their relationship and how well it's building, and I love it so much for that. Um, in the podcast, I will mention when they fall asleep. Right after I mentioned how she noticed that he's going deaf in one of his ears, and they mentioned that when he falls asleep, he's facing the door and his left ear is
Mm.
up, the ear that he can hear out of well. But then when it cuts to when Henry and Sam walk in on them, he's turned over. He's laying on his opposite side. So then the ear that he can't hear out of really well is the one that's up like that. And so he didn't hear Henry and Sam walk in. And that's just a small detail I didn't even notice. So
Yeah. Um, do you think Henry and Sam were like in a different apartment room, or do you think they were like there, kind of heard everything going on, and were kind of like, I asked that, and then I think a little bit about like events in the game, things that happen in the game. Kind of feel like they kind of had to be somewhere else, or else Sam would have heard that conversation and seen.
yeah.
And I mean, there's even a line in the trailer where he's like, "You might not be her dad, but you mean something to her," or something like that.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe, and they could have still been in the same room, I guess, and maybe they just waited for them to go to sleep or something, and before they decided to make their move.
Mhm.
I really love for some reason why I don't like why did Henry like Henry was like, "Hey, I'll get the little girl, Sam, you the little kid, I want you to cover the gigantic 50-year-old man. You got that one, bro."
I
It's
know, right?
like what? What kind of brother are you, dog?
Also, dude, the man, just the I love that final shot of the gun just like in focus, and then it like finally focuses on Sam, and he just puts his
Yeah, he
finger up.
just yeah,
Oh, it's so good. And he has
so
kind of
good.
like a smile on his face. I don't know if that was intentional or or what, but I was like, damn, this
He's
twisted
giddy,
little
bro.
kid.
Man's ready to pull that trigger.
It was so good though, just seeing Ellie with her hands up, and you see Henry, and you're like, "Mm,
I know that
mm."
made me so happy. Like I like as someone who's played the like we've played the game, so we're smiling, but like everybody else is probably like, "Oh shit, what the hell? What's gonna
Oh
happen to
yeah.
them?" You know? Like
I will say I do like that they use the Kathleen character as a way to kind of get Sam and Henry introduced to us, because in the game we learn through dialogue, oh, these people are hunting them down. What are we gonna do now? And we don't ever see obviously a Kathleen character because she doesn't exist in the game.
yeah,
And so I like that they kind of used her in this way. as opposed to how they did the game.
Yeah, fully agree. And then that brings us to the end of the episode, and we get the teaser for next week, which obviously we all know. Oh, well, actually, no. Before that, we get the wonderful,
Mm,
wonderful "True Faith" song,
so
which
good.
it's not the rendition of Ashley Johnson singing it from a trailer from The Last of Us Part Two, but it's also not the original version, which I actually didn't know came out in like the 80s.
Oh wow.
I did not know that at all. Um, but it's still like that somber sort of tone that Ashley Johnson sings it in that Last of Us Part 2 trailer. And this is like,
So
I
good.
remember there was news of the song being in the episode before the episode aired.
Oh
And
wow.
I had completely forgotten about it while watching the episode. And then so hearing it in the credits it was sick.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Which I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because I was just sitting there and I got to the end of it and I was like, okay, cool. That was cool. And then I just hear like the opening lines and I was like, oh no way, dude. And I like just shot you next. I was like, yo, oh my god, this song. It's just so good. Like I love that trailer, dude. That
Yeah.
cinematic trailer they dropped and Ellie's just
No,
sitting
that
there
yeah,
singing. Oh,
honestly.
and then just like running away from like, oh dude, so good. So when I heard that song come on, I
Dude,
was
yeah,
like,
most of PlayStation's like cinematic trailers like that where they're all like CG, bro, they're fantastic most of the
so
time.
good, dude.
Love them so much. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, then after that, we get the teaser for the next week's episode. Looks like tons of action, lots of explosions. There's so many guns and gunfights I'm seeing. And then obviously the bloater we've talked about many times, which is all airing tomorrow. If you guys don't know, again, Friday, 9 p.m. EST, just like every Sunday, but this time it's on Friday. It's fantastic, but at the same time, we're gonna have to wait until next Sunday for the next episode. So,
yeah.
um, but hey, that's okay. That's okay with me.
Yeah. Next week's episode looks so good, man. You got like riots, fireworks. You got Henry and Sam, and then Henry, Sam, Ellie, and Joel teaming up. Ellie and Sam hanging out. So good, action packed, and then of course the main event, the bloater.
The bloater.
Can't wait, dude. Cannot wait. Tomorrow is not The Last of Us Sunday, The Last of Us Friday. And we will definitely be watching it. Definitely going to get the episode out by Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah,
For sure soon, because I feel like it's going to be a banger
be a
episode.
really good episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, with that, if you guys don't want to stick around for the spoiler section, by spoilers, I mean talking about future, what's going to happen in the rest of the season potentially, and what did happen in the game. Thank you guys for listening. You guys mean a lot to us. Seriously, like again, last episode was crazy numbers for us. We know this show means a lot to people. It means a lot to us, and we've been excited, been waiting to cover this one. So it means a lot that you guys are showing interest in it. So if you're on YouTube, again, drop a sub, hit the notification bell, hit the like button on the video. If you are listening on the podcast service like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, drop us a rating, a good rating, 5 stars. We're good for it, obviously. And so, seriously, you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Adios.
Peace. And for the spoiler listeners, last warning, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Sam turns
Yeah.
into a clicker and Henry has to shoot him and then kill himself.
Jeez, man, it's jumping right in. See, that's something. Someone uploaded a video on TikTok today, and they said they were asking, do we think that they might change Sam and Henry's fate? And that's actually
Mm,
something I've been thinking about a lot lately. I actually think it's likely that they might. I don't know that they will change it so drastically to the point where they're both alive, but I think they might change it in some way to make it, I mean, even more heartbreaking now that we've seen that
yeah.
that they do that sort of thing. But I don't, that's the thing. I don't know how they can make it that way and then still have it land the same way that it does and still have the same impact that it did in the game. And so that's the part that makes me hold back and makes me think that they won't change it. But I still I don't know. I just have this itching feeling that they're gonna change something about it in a
Damn,
significant way.
that's interesting. I haven't even like considered that. And now I'm
Okay.
like, now it's, you know, now I'm kind of thinking about it more because I mean, let me think about what's happened so far, right? Do you think there's a way that they change Henry's death to where he doesn't put the gun to his head and do it? I don't think they're too worried about Sam just because they already killed off Sarah, you know. They've already shown Joel throw a dead infected kid into a pit of fire.
Yeah.
I'm sure they don't mind having Sam turn into a clicker and then just bah, you know. And so uh that I think that's fine with the show at least. But as for Henry, do you think they go as far as having Henry take his own life?
That's the thing. I feel like that would be such a crazy thing to have in the show, especially with them talking about
Trying
them
to
not
make it
wanting to
less,
go, yeah, as
yeah,
violent or and as dark. And so that's part of what makes me think that they would change it. But I'm also like, as morbid as it sounds, it works so well. I don't know that I want them to change it. But again, I'm open. I'm open. Like, this is an adaptation. That's what this is for. And so I just struggle to see, like, maybe if they both died, both got bit or something like that. I just don't know how it would equal the same impact on both Ellie and Joel that it did in the game. And so,
yeah. I not that you have to have it happen the way it did, but that did impact Joel and Ellie a lot. I
yeah,
mean, Ellie even
exactly.
goes as far as to bring it up later when she's in the house with Joel,
Yeah,
and she's like, you know, what are you so afraid of? You know, that I'm going to end up like Sam. I can't get
yeah,
infected. And so, and you know, everything after like the draft scene where she says, you know, Henry and Sam, Tess, and then every naming off every traumatic event that she's went through.
yeah.
Poor little girl. Um, saying that it all has to mean something. And also to your like what you had told me that she was like that you said yeah she would have died. I was like I was rewatching it and I mean she tells Joel at one point she says after we're done with this we can do whatever you want to go do, you know,
Mhm.
which I guess you could still make an argument like well she said it all has to you know mean something so she still would have I feel like she still would have consented to just being
Yeah.
put down basically. um but that line right there, after we get through with this, after we finish this, we can do whatever you want to go do. Kind of makes you think a little bit more. I mean, we've already
No,
touched
yeah,
on it
she
for like a long
no,
time, but
yeah, I think she expected to live. Like, she didn't think she was gonna die going there. But I think that coupling, like, with the line that you just mentioned of her saying, like, it can't be for nothing,
exactly, yeah.
I feel like
I
even if she had known the fact that she would have died, she would have gone on with it. And granted, we have this is also speaking, like, with the insight of part two coming out later, where she straight up says, like, my life would have fucking mattered, is what she said.
yeah.
And so she would have done it. But granted, at the time we didn't have, like, all that info. But
It's just yeah, I mean, it's interesting to think about just because it's like how much of that is actually true would have happened, and how much of that is just her resenting Joel and saying, "Nah, I wish I could have got went back and did it." You know, it's just it's all about how you interpret it. It's all about
yeah.
like I said, this game really just holds a mirror up to your face, you know, and with everything it does and everything it makes its characters do. But anyways, I just wanted to touch on that because I forgot to bring it up last episode. But as for Henry and Sam, it's going to be interesting. I mean, we've seen that they can, like you know, we said this last week, but we've seen that they're not afraid to kind of get away from source material as much.
Yeah.
As, you know, more so with Henry and or more so with Bill and Frank. Um, a little bit this episode with all the stuff we talked about. It'll be interesting to see how they play it out next week. I haven't even considered them changing stuff up for Henry and Sam, but now I'm like, ooh, you know, now it's intriguing. That
Yeah.
conversation is intriguing.
I feel like it's possible. I genuinely feel like it is, but again, I just don't know how they could do it and then make it still impact Joel and Ellie the same way. So, and again, if they don't change it up, I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
And if they do, I'll totally be fine with that as well, depending on if I think it works the same, works the same way.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anything else that I really wanted to talk about, future spoiler
Uh,
wise.
I will say, I mean, just like stuff we touched on earlier. Just now, we can like touch on it a little bit more, like reiterate it a little bit more into detail. Stuff like, what was it? Riley.
Oh yeah,
Do we think it's
that's
her?
actually that is something I wanted to talk about. Yes, that's because I think that is the person that she had to shoot and kill.
Yeah.
Um, but that makes me think then. So did she shoot Riley before Riley turned then? Which would make sense because I think in the game even Riley says that she doesn't want to turn into one of those things. Actually, no, maybe she doesn't because she says we could be all poetic and lose our minds together. She says
Yeah.
so. Um, but so in saying that, what my question is and what my wondering is, if Ellie didn't shoot her when before she turned and she waited until after she turned, is that really quite the same thing? Like she just killed an infected at that point, you know?
Well, she does tell Joel in the end, like episode 2, like, does it bother you that they used to be human? That used to be a human in there.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So that really could be a really cool like call forward, basically,
Yeah.
where they kind of foreshadow that. Now
Yeah.
that you mentioned that,
That's true. That's true. That's actually a good point. Um, and so coupling that with the fact that she shot that guy and she said that that wasn't the first time she had to do it. I if I had to bet, if I had to place my idea, I would think that she did shoot her before she turned. Um, just because I think that's what Riley's going to say that she wants, but who knows? Maybe they'll carry over that dialogue from the game. But
yeah,
I
or
do
they can
think that is
change
the
that up.
person she's alluding to.
Yeah,
I don't think she fought any other person,
yeah,
or any like Fedra soldier or anything like that. Because Lord knows she probably would have been shot in the street, knowing Fedra.
yeah, um, yeah, or they change it up a little bit as well. You know, we really don't know. It's wide open right now,
Yeah,
and I'm kind of fine with that because everything they've done so far, I've kind of fell in line with. Um,
yeah,
Biggest thing probably being Kathleen, but we've already talked about that. It's not like the deal breaker. It's not like the biggest deal breaker ever. Um, Plus, it's not like it's a huge deal either. Like her being in the game or her being in the show. One, because I feel like not too much will come from it, unless it directly affects Henry and Sam and how they die. But also because the arc's over after this episode, we're moving on, and so um, I wasn't gonna say I can't remember. I know after Henry and Sam, don't we do like a time jump? Don't we kind of just jump forward and it's like fall?
that's yeah, that's the thing. I can't remember what season it is. I know it's raining when they get to Jackson, and so that makes me
Hmm.
want to say fall. But I'm pretty sure there's also another time jump after they leave Jackson and go to the college. And because it's not winter, I don't think by then it's winter after Joel gets impaled by the rebar. And so, so maybe I'm wrong about there being a time jump between Jackson and the college.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I know for sure because after Sam takes his life and they're just kind of sitting there and they're like, fuck, shit. Um,
there's definitely a time
I
jump there.
swear it just jumps straight into them walking along this like
Yeah,
wooded
they're almost to
place.
Tommy's at that point.
Yeah. Which it did show that episode 6 will have Tommy in it.
Yeah,
So
and that one's titled like Kin, I think.
yeah,
So that would make
Kin.
sense.
Yeah, and so then we get Tommy. So I'm just trying to think about how like these next couple episodes can play out. Because for sure Tommy, we'll get to Jackson and everything with him there. We still need Joel to get impelled and everything with David's crew. And then after that, what is it? Back to Jackson
After David's crew is the hospital.
Hospital.
Yeah, is the hospital after David's, and then after the hospital is back to Jackson.
After hospital is back to Jackson. Yeah, yeah. And then it's the college and everything. Okay. I'm just trying to map out how these next couple of episodes can go, and when we're gonna get to like David's crew and Winter, because we still have to meet those other two new characters from the trailer, the older people.
Oh yeah, completely forgot about those people.
Yeah, we still have to meet them, and I only know that because I was watching the trailer earlier, and I absolutely love that line where she's like, "You're not gonna scare us." And she's like, "Scared
Scared
him."
him.
It's like, and then dude, just the way Joel looks up, Pedro Pascal
Yeah,
just looks up, like not even moving anything but his eyes. It's so good. Okay, well yeah, I was just trying to map out these next couple of episodes and like what we can expect.
yeah. Because I
Other
think the
than
one
that,
after Kin is titled Left Behind, and so
mm,
obviously that's going to be the Riley stuff, and so that leaves me one because I think okay, so there's 6 Kin and then 7 Left Behind, so that leaves 2 episodes after that,
oh
and you want
shit,
Joel to, so that means they have to do the David stuff and the hospital stuff in 2 episodes. That's kind of wild.
oh wow, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, we're already on
So
episode 5.
so I'm thinking Joel has to get impaled by the end of episode 6, Kin. Like
Yeah,
they're gonna rush through the Tommy stuff, I think, and then they're gonna get to the college real quick. Episode 6 is also gonna have the conversation of them in the house arguing. Um, so because that's the only way that makes sense to me. And then after Left Behind is gonna be the David stuff episode, and then the final episode is gonna be all the stuff at the hospital.
yeah,
That's the only way that makes sense to me.
yeah. Hmm.
Or maybe Joel doesn't get impaled at all, and maybe he gets captured. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff they can change to make it. I really want Joel to get like badly injured. If they don't do the impaling, I want something to happen to where he does have to be walked by Ellie, and she's like, if we get through this, you're so singing to me, because like she
I
wants him
love
to
that
sing
line.
them
Yeah,
so bad.
he's like, "You wish."
I like we really need that, and the scene of him laying down and she kind of like pulls the blanket up
Pulls him
up
into
and
him.
lays
Yeah,
down next to him. I really hope they don't skip the impaling, or like even if it's just like a gunshot wound or like the bullet's still stuck in there, whatever. I really hope we get that regardless, because that's one of my favorite parts in the game.
yeah.
Just everything um in that
Everywhere all at
moment.
once.
Yeah,
Sorry.
everything everyone at once. I wish I had my DVDs here. I'll flex it real quick. But other than that, what other spoiler stuff?
I don't think there's anything else really that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah. Oh, I did see someone say that um, it would be Sam, Henry, and Ish backstory explained this next episode.
Yeah, Neil said that in episode 5, they I think he said that they couldn't cover it exactly the way they wanted to, but there is like a nod to it. And
Hmm.
so I imagine because Sam draws stuff, I imagine it's just going to be a similar drawing to what was in the game. And so kind of sucks. I wanted
Interesting.
a little bit more out of the Ish stuff, just because it's a TV show and they had the potential to do that. But I mean, they just didn't find time for it. It's not that big of a deal, not that big of a loss, but oh well.
You don't know anything about loss.
Oh. Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. That was so good. I love the line. He's like, "You're right. You're not my daughter, and I sure as hell ain't your dad." Oh my god,
I
that's so messed up.
I did see. I know, right? Like just taking a good moment. She's over here pouring her heart out to you, and you just mess it all up. There is someone pointed out that when Tommy comes in and he's like, "Well, I got 2 on the front, 2 on the back, whatever." And Joel looks over and he looks over the window, or then Joel says, "I got 2 on front." When he says, "I got 2 in the front," his voice cracks as
Does
if
it?
he's like
Oh,
choked up a little bit. Yeah, it's really cool. If you rewatch that scene, it's like,
I
ooh,
didn't
it
know
makes it
that.
hit so
That's
much
fucking
harder.
sick, actually. That's
Yeah,
so sick.
yeah, rewatch it when you can. It's such a good catch.
Oh yeah, but with that, I don't think I have anything else to cover. Um,
No.
so again, those of you who stuck around, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. I'm not gonna reiterate the YouTube stuff. You guys already heard it all over again. But if you want to find me, um, you can find me on Twitter at Cubson underscore. You find me on TikTok at It's Cubson. You find me on YouTube at It's Cubson. Upload lots of Last of Us stuff, lots of Marvel stuff recently. We got Quantum Mania coming out soon next
Ooh, we're
week.
definitely covering that.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing a full podcast on that. We're probably gonna get one, if not two, guests in the episode, maybe. Um, we'll see how it goes. It's all tentative. We'll let you guys know as we go along. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Seriously, again, the growth for not the love on last week's episode was fantastic, absolutely unforeseen, and so seriously, couldn't thank you guys enough. We hope that
And
we keep showing you that we're worth it.
yeah, exactly. And since he won't point it out, I will. My boy Charles doing big things
Oh,
over here.
this is
Go
crazy.
check out the video he helped make.
Yeah,
Boy's
yeah,
voiceover got the voice of an angel over here
yeah.
on
I
Naughty Dog Central's newest video.
crazy thing. I didn't know it was just supposed to be a voiceover. I recorded a video, like the whole video. Like
Oh, shit.
the if you play the beginning part, like they show my face for a little bit, but they um I, I didn't know they wanted to because they didn't specify, and that's my fault. I should have asked. But so this part, I did this the whole time. I did this the
Oh,
whole time, but
shit.
they only used this little part of it. And so um it was cool though. It was a cool experience. I like those guys over there. They had it all written out for me, and it was pretty nice, pretty easy. YouTube Premium kid over here. What?
I
I
hate
saw
ads
that.
so
I
much.
hate
I
them
hate
too.
ads
But
so
like
much.
that's damn,
Well,
bruh.
so the thing is, back when I was making my Kenobi like reaction videos and stuff, what I would do is I would go on YouTube and people would upload them like immediately. This was before I knew how to find the clips on or like record them on my PC or my phone. And people would upload the clips immediately on YouTube. And so I would just go and download and what I do is like I copy the link, I go into like a documents app on my phone and I basically save the video from YouTube. I download it, take that downloading and move it to my camera roll, right? And that's how I would make all my reaction videos. Well, I saw a download option on YouTube and I was like, oh, dude, if I can just download it here to my camera roll, like that would save me so much time. So it was like, in order to download it, you need YouTube Premium. And so I was like, oh, shit. All right, well, I'll buy this month and Kenobi will be over and I'll stop using it. Well, sure enough, I go to download it. Not at all what I thought it would be. It literally just downloads it to where you can watch it without like cell service. Like it's just downloaded on your phone. And so I was like, oh my God, what a waste. Like this doesn't even help me, whatever. And I was like, but you know what? This ad free and like, getting to turn my phone off and have the YouTube video still play, I kind of like it. So I still haven't went back and canceled my subscription.
Dang,
But
man.
I probably won't just because when I go on my other account, A&H Talks here on YouTube, movie reviews, TV show reviews, trailer
Yeah.
reactions, all
Shout
that
it
good
out.
stuff. Uh, when I go on that one, I don't have YouTube Premium on that one, obviously, because I'd be broke. I don't have
Yeah.
Premium on
Dude,
that
it's
one.
crazy expensive.
So every time I go to record and trailer reaction or whatever, I go and I'm like, all right, and here we go. Press play. Oh, now with Neosporin, and it's just like, oh my God, never mind.
Oh
And I
yeah.
go switch over to my other account, and I'm like, here we go, boom. And so I've kind of just like anytime I'm on that other account, I try and play a video, like, oh, this one looks cool, play it, boom, 15-second ad. I'm like, oh, yeah, dude.
I
So
hate that,
I'm
bro.
probably not gonna get rid of it anytime soon.
You know what's worse is worse than a 30-second unskippable ad is two 15-second unskippable ads, bro. That
Yeah,
pisses me off. It's the same
yeah,
amount, but it's just dumb. But
yeah.
yeah, shout out your socials, man, other than your YouTube. Come on now.
Aiden H Talks, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. All of
Pinterest.
my
Yeah.
main Pinterest, Tumblr, Facebook. That's all my main commotion lately, and obviously here, go to Naughty Dog Central YouTube, find out some more info about The Last of Us multiplayer from your boy Charlie. Um, from your boy Charlie. That's about all I got.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Next week's going to be a big week. We got episode 5 for The Last of Us will be coming at you. And then at the end of the week, we will have a Quantum Mania, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantum Mania episode up. So
Yep.
thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. We're going to keep dropping all the content for you. And if you want to see more of us, as we mentioned, our socials will be linked in the description as well. So thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day, night, afternoon, whenever you're listening to this. We appreciate you. Adios.
Peace.